It's time for the BAQA. The BAQA. What you say? The BAQA mandate. The BAQA with Tiffany. The BAQA.
Hey.
Welcome
Got
back.
a little reggae flavor in that one today.
The
Little Rasta. Hey.
Oh, this is
I'm
Brown
here
Ambition
for it.
Question and Answers. You have questions. We have some answers. Although we are not your mama, your cousin, we are just your internet friend. So we're not your attorney, financial advisor, doctor, any of those things. AKA the people that you pay for advice. That's who you should lean into with just a little bit of salt on that meal. Just a little sprinkle. So see your grandma, not us. Okay? Our lawyer friends love when we say that.
Yeah. And we have consulted them and they say continue doing it. Ooh, but today is my day to shine, y'all.
It's career day.
Question day.
So at least let me read the questions, because if you said I got to get something in.
Tiffany goes, take a stretch break, take a nap, No, Tiffany has tons to always add to the convo, but we are taking y'all's career questions, and you want to submit questions, whether it be career, business, relationships, dating. We know some things. Hit us up at Brown Ambition Podcast on IG. You can send us a DM. You can also email us brownambitionpodcast@gmail.com. We love getting y'all's questions. And while you're at it, leave us a review too. Because if you can type a question out, you can type a review. That's just a fact. All right, Tiff, can we get the first question, please?
Me. I'm just going to be reading questions today. Mandy's going to be answering them. Me.
Come on, Vanna White.
This question is for Duke. From Duke, because that's not his real name, but they said to leave his name out. Hey, I've been a listener for years. I wanted to ask a question. Leave my name out. So we're just going to call you Duke. Duke says, how do you deal with getting a raise at a job when they don't discuss it with you before you find out it's happening? I'm stuck with just take what we gave you, or do I have options to advocate for more? So my raise is more of an oops adjustment to my info being wrong in their systems, years of service experience and whatnot. I'm still up for a merit raise that comes up in June, but I just found out randomly. In my words, oh, our bad. We have been paying you all these years, and until we upgraded the system and people put their own information into it, it would have never been changed. Duke, thank you for all y'all do. Black fist, 100%. Yes.
It's a little bit confusing at the end what he's trying to say as far as like the system and people putting their own info into it. However, this is really familiar to me. And on the one hand, I'm like, oh, kudos to your company for making a change when they saw that there was something amiss. But I also understand how it can feel as an employee to get the news that you have basically been underpaid. You said for several years at this point, which would, I don't know how much the adjustment was for you. Maybe it was a couple $100s or whatnot, but you can start to spiral, into thinking about all of what you could have done with that money over the years and what it means that you haven't been paid your worth. And that really sucks. As far as like negotiating it, they've already done that work behind the scenes. And at that point, it's been decided for you. Like, okay, based on this new system that we've got for compensation, we're going to be making compensation adjustments. And compensation adjustments are basically when the company itself is saying, we're either underpaying this person, or they're not in line with like this new, if they come out with like a new way of describing their pay bands, or in this case, it sounds like years of service play a different role in, calculating compensation than it had in the past. So they're like, we're just going to square everybody up so we're all on the same page, and then we can move forward from that same page. And you've seen, I have heard of some companies also in the wake of 2020 doing some work to identify racial pay gaps, which is entirely on the company and the people working behind the scenes at that company to find out. Because if you have been employed, you got hired recently, they don't ask you for your racial information. So it's really people your ethnicity. It's like not required of a company to track that kind of thing unless they really want to. So companies, or gender for that matter as well. So companies have to go out of their way to try and see, okay, where are there pay discrepancies? And then if there are pay discrepancies, what are we going to do about it? So on the one hand, like I said, like I'm glad that they did this work. Can you negotiate it at that point? No, because you don't have any of the information. The best you can do is with this experience is think about, okay, well, I definitely can't trust these these mofos to keep track of what I'm worth and what I should be getting paid. So I'm going to make it my business to stay in the loop, like stay in a space where you can understand what your value is in the marketplace. By that, I mean, take job interviews and see what other companies are offering, regularly scout for job openings that are similar to the role that you have. And especially in states where they actually list the salaries now, you can see if you're being paid on par with what those salary bands are. Find some trusted colleagues, peers in your space, and find a safe way for y'all to talk about your salaries. Be careful of who you speak to, but you definitely can build relationships with folks who will be candid about what they're paid. And so you can stay in the know about your own value, because this has shown you that when you leave it up to a company and human beings who are biased and have busy careers of their own, and things can slip through the cracks, no one's going to care about your worth and paying you equitably. No one's going to care about that more than that. Being said, you found out that you're up for the standard merit increase in June. That's all very cute, but that doesn't mean that you still can't negotiate more on top of that. So I would definitely, start doing your research, start putting together, your own idea of what your value is based on years of service and all of that. And if you want to ask for an additional raise, I would do that ahead of that June review cycle. And it can't hurt, honestly. But to have the strongest case for a raise in June or even before that, you want to be out there now. It's March. Start hitting the job applications online now. Start, letting people know that you're interested in different opportunities. Because if you have a real offer, or even the idea of an offer on the table, that's going to give you some real leverage. And it's just way more likely that the company's actually going to give you that increase if they think they stand to lose you. Which, if you don't have another job offer, they're kind of like, we just gave Duke a pay adjustment. He's fine. He's not going anywhere.
So Mandy,
would to lose you.
So if he's been underpaid, say like it's just 4 years and it was $200 a month, should he get all that back money? Does he make?
That's really on the company, I think. But I also think that if they haven't offered that, and thanks for asking, because that's a piece that I believe, like for example, I would ask them for more details on like, what is it about my pay that how did you guys adjust it? And then if it's based on years of service, like, so how long has it been that I have been underpaid? And can we get a lump sum, bonus of some kind, a bonus that's going to hit your account and after taxes be as much as you were granted. That's called, like, what's it called? Truing up.
Okay.
Or I forget what that word is. Okay. There's a word for it. They can basically, so let's say, in total, you were underpaid by $1,000. So instead of just giving you a bonus for $1,000, which will be taxed at your regular tax rate, they would do it like, let's say your tax rate is 20%. So they would give you like a $1,200 bonus. So the taxes can come out and, you're left with you're about made whole, made even. Yeah. I think that's worth looking into. And I mean, I don't know if there's like a,
legal standing, like if I was underpaid, like what does that mean?
I mean, at the end of the day, unless you could prove that they discriminated against you and that's why you were underpaid, then I'm not sure. And that's really hard to prove, that because you're a woman or because you're a person of color, we paid you less. You would need to have a lot more information. You need to have information about what every other person at the company in your role was making and compare it. So it's a real high, what's that expression in law? So it's a high bar. It's a high bar.
But even if it wasn't because of like color or gender or whatever, if they admitted, hey, we've been underpaying you, like for what your role is.
Well, listen, they can justify, companies can come up with so much justification for why they're paying somebody. Well, this person came from a higher price point from another company. They were hired in the past year. You've been here for 7 years. And, they keep giving you these merit increases. This is another example of why being loyal to a company for a long time can actually leave you in a space where you're underpaid compared to the market. because you may be getting these merit increases, but not the big compensation increases that you would have had you had to go into the open market and people bid on you and, give you a higher pay. So yeah, there's a bunch of ways, and they're not all like, I've said this before, but like as a hiring manager myself, I had ended up with people on my team who were doing similar work, very similar work, and being paid differently. And I had to even sit with myself, like, how could I let this happen? And a lot of the times it's not because we are malicious, evil people. It is because time goes on. You forget, the market changes, someone comes in, and a certain budget was the way it was when they were hired. And then the economy changes, the business plan changes. You get less of a budget the next time around. And it's like, there's all these different tugs and pulls. I don't know what that means. There's always different things sort of tugging on the money, the purse strings, But again, that is why it's on you, the employee, anyone who's working, to really advocate for yourself and make sure that, you're not falling through the cracks. And that's very unlikely that you're going to end up in a situation where you're being undervalued compared to the market. And just a really good example, Duke, of you need to be keeping your eyes open to the market, staying open to job interviews. Don't get too complacent. And at the end of the day, don't trust anyone else to care more about paying you fairly than you do.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. Oh, before we take a break though, I'm going to do because the next question, the person made it very clear they don't want to hear from me. So I am going to give a little advice myself just in meantime, because because I know this is a career segment, but, and if you listen to our Wednesday show, I made an admission that I'm really intimidated about active investing. I invest passively. I have a retirement account, I have investment accounts, but just kind of like set it and forget it, which is much better than nothing. And actually, it's a really pretty solid strategy. But I've always wanted to learn how to actively invest. I used to watch my dad do it, and I kind of just felt like it's too hard for me, despite all the hard things I've learned how to do. So I told myself, this is the year the excuse stops. And so I reached out to my friend, Terry, and I asked her if she would coach me. Terry, you might know her from Trade and Travel. She had the number one, not just investing class, number one course on Teachable, period, for like 2 or 3 years in a row. She has taught thousands of students how to invest. And what I love about Terry is that she's actually an educator. She actually was either assistant principal or principal for a number of years. She went to MIT, just really smart. But she was like an assistant principal for a number of years.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, before she started her business. So Terry's just really smart, and just when I look for someone to help me, I look for people who not just know the knowledge, but can show you the knowledge, like through teaching, like know how to actually teach. Because I'm a teaching snob since, I used to teach. So anyway, I asked Terry to teach me, and she was like, I can do that. But also, just so you know, in April, she told me this maybe in February, that I have a 5-day challenge that you should join, but also participate, like speak at. And I was like, well, I can't speak because I'm not an active trader. And she said, no, that she's having like guest speakers come on to talk about what does it look like to prepare to invest? So I'm actually going to be talking about how to budget and save money so you have money to invest. But Terry's doing this 5-day challenge. Day 1 is like, what is the stock market? So it's really for beginners. Day 2, what are index funds? Day 3, what is a brokerage account? How to open one so you can actively open one. This is where a lot of people get hung up. Day 4 is how to buy a stock. You'll be able to buy a stock live with her. And day 5, how to sell a stock. So it's really taking your first trade to break through, to say like, I can do this thing. And of course she has other things that she teaches like more in depth, like she has like an 8-week course or whatever, but that's not what this is. This is just a 5-day, I want to get started. And so this is what I'm starting with. So I am speaking about budgeting and saving and getting ready, but I am an actual student, like taking the class. So if you want to do this challenge along with me, Terry gave me like a special link. It'll be in the description show notes, tradeandtravel.com/thebudgetnista. That's tradeandtravel.com/thebudgetnista. It's happening in April. I think, what was it, Mandy? It was like the
15th to the 19th.
Yes. And it's from 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time from 15th to the 19th that you'll be able to like watch and take class with us. So it should be a good time. And so if you are a beginner like me, a little nervous, but know that you have the capability and you actually want like a teacher to teach you, this is my coach. And so I get to share her with you. Tradeandtravel.com/Budgetnista in the show notes. So we're going to take our break and come right back because we have another question for Mandy or whatever. And we are back, BA fam. So this listener is TMI. Wait till you see the not so subtle shade. I ain't mad at you, TMI, because I'm not gonna lie. This is a Mandy question. She says, "Hey, Mandy and Tiffany, I love you both, but this is a Mandy question." That though. Honestly, I do.
TMI.
So TMI says, I got offered an amazing position at a new company making $20K more a year from my current position. That's amazing. Should I tell my current employer the reason I'm leaving, or should I just put in my 2 weeks and dip? Oh, yes, that's right. Dip, baby, dip. Go ahead.
Hey, dip, baby, dip. Come on now. I love this. What a great, great question to put alongside the question from Duke in the first half of the show, because you're seeing what can happen, Duke, if you are out there in the job market. Like and she's about to get I'm saying 20K raise. They're never going to give you that kind of raise internally at the company unless you are like blackmailing them for some reason. Like you have some proof of evidence that your CEO is up to no good, whatever. You can get this kind of raise by quitting your way rich. Like I talk about all the time. But this is a very simple question. So that obviously 20K more. I mean, come on. That's, reason enough to leave. But I hope also it gives you like the step in your career that you want and you're going to work for a great team and all that. But asking, should you tell your current employer the reason you're leaving? I mean, that's really up to you. Okay. My question for you would be, do you have any interest in staying if they were to match your offer? And if the answer is hell no, even if they give me 20K as well, I don't want to stay here anymore. Okay. Then you could let them know, at the end of the day, it came down to the compensation, but also, wanting to leave for X, Y, and Z reasons. But it's really like, do you care enough? Because that information is only going to benefit them if they care to listen to it. But there's not really a lot to be gained on your end from telling them why you're going to be leaving. Okay. It's also like, you've heard of exit interviews, right, Tiff? But this is a Mandy question, so just trying to like keep you in the loop, but like also
that's like stop.
Noodle budget what? But the exit interview is another thing I get asked about a lot. Like, should I really lay it all out in the exit interview? And I always say like, at the end of the day, if it's going to make you feel lighter to get that off your chest, okay, it's really in the company's interest to get that kind of feedback, but it's not the time to settle a score or air your major grievances, because it's going to be delivered to an HR person and they may just, take the proverbial, piece of paper, ball it up and throw it in the trash and say, Kobe, you know what I mean? Like your rant may never go anywhere. So yeah, it's up to you. If you want to tell them, then fine, but you can absolutely ask your manager for a meeting and say, I've had such a great experience working on this team. I've loved getting to contribute and do X, blah, 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 blah. But I've decided to take another opportunity at a different company. There's nothing that requires you to say what company you're going to. And especially if you think you have a non-compete agreement and you should check. Like, you don't need to say what company you're going to. You don't need to give any kind of details. Just say, I'm going to keep it private for now. But I'm going to be leaving and I'm happy to put in, do a 2-week notice so that, you guys are not left in a bind. And then you can just shut your face and
dip, do the rest baby, of the dip. Come on. That's going to be the name. Let's name the podcast, this episode, Dip, Baby, Dip.
Dip, baby, dip. To the left, to the left,
to the right, to the right, to the front. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, but congrats, because that's freaking amazing.
That is freaking amazing. No, and honestly, like Mandy gave the best advice. I don't have anything to add to that other than like as an employer, certainly I would like to know if I lost a really good person, but you don't owe that to me. It would be nice to know like, oh, Tiffany, it's been great working here. But, I did, because I might not have the 20,000, but it lets me know, okay, this is the cost of what it costs to keep somebody really good. Let me keep that in mind for the next time. But certainly I'm going to wish you luck and be like, I love that for you. But every employer is not going to be like that. So.
For sure. And it'd also be nice, I think, as an employer to hear that there's really nothing I could have done different. It's just the pay. It's all about money. And if that's the case, again, you have to be ready for what if they say, hey, well, we can match this offer. We don't want to lose you. What's your answer going to be then? Are you willing? Because I've been asked that before multiple times. And I usually just go ahead and say, this is a really great opportunity to me. Even if y'all would be willing to match it, I would be, really honored. But I'm going to end up taking this new role, and then kind of give an example, like it's a leadership role, it's this, that, I'm moving, etc. Because you want to ideally keep that relationship and keep it healthy, because you never know where they may end up and vice versa. You don't want to act too crazy, too cocky, be like, dip, but you don't want to put too much dip grenade behind your back.
Not too much dip on your chip, honey.
I don't even know what that means.
So that just means
like
like we have a chip on your shoulder, basically, like you're feeling yourself a little too much, like you're overloaded. Y'all couldn't hold me.
Let's take the Michelle Obama high road. We're always trying to live to that expectation, right? But great question. Thank you, TMI. And I hope I did you proud.
Yes, you did.
And you, what was your name again?
My name is Tiffany. I'm just here. Sidebar. Did you see what the Kellogg's CEO said about families that are struggling financially? That's okay.
They should eat cereal for dinner?
Girl.
Am I making that up?
I said, is this a simulation of stupidity?
First of all, have you seen cereal prices lately?
I mean, you can't even afford it.
As a woman who buys them, they're fucking expensive.
I remember cereal was expensive when I was a kid because my mother was not buying the fancy Kellogg cereal because it was too much money.
It'd be in the plastic baggie.
I mean,
we would straight get the Tutti Fruities.
We would get the, whatever the white box name, like the
Life cereal.
Girl,
Cheerios.
So if it was called Cheerios, we would get the O's.
That's what I'm saying. The Tutti Frutti, the apple, what
Apple
was it?
Jacks was delicious. So it'd be like apple snacks.
Apple Dapples. That's what it was at Ingles. The Ingles in Georgia.
So it was expensive then, let alone now. Please, we couldn't even have regular cereal. But can you imagine the level of just ignorance, lack of awareness?
Out of touch.
Like, oh, that's okay because they can eat cereal. What are we in the US of A and not in USA that we're suggesting that babies should go to bed with just sugary snacks? Like, what an idiot. Anyway.
Kellogg's fans rejoice to see cereal being sold at all-time low after CEO's controversial comments sparked a boycott of the brand. Frosted Flakes, hey, they didn't reach my grocery store because Frosted Flakes were still hella expensive. They were 99 cents at some stores. Listen.
Well, he's
one day sale.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure we'll be back at it. But I just thought that. It was just because I know I felt left out. So I had to put a little something in like, I had something to say.
I know. It's very Marie Antoinette. Let them eat cake.
Yeah.
Let them eat Kellogg's.
Yeah, that's very much what he was giving. You know what happened to her,
You know what happened to her.
Exactly. Look at that. I'm glad we're right here, Mandy.
I did not miss that day in history class. They did what to her head? Oh, man. Well, it looks like they're getting their just desserts, and the public continues to do the right thing with these boycotts.
Yes. Well, if you enjoyed our BAQ, and we know you did, and you have questions to ask, you can. We are Brown Ambition Podcast on social media, on IG. Slide into the DMs and ask your question. Always make sure that, if you don't want us to say your name, let us know. Ideally, give us a fake name that we can use because it's fun. And you could also email us at brownambitionpodcast@gmail.com. If this was an episode that you know you did, share it, please. We would love more people to hear from us. Share
Not
it.
the begging.
I know, tag it.
We're okay.
Put us
like
on
share it,
social.
I guess. We thirsty. We got real thirsty there.
Share it. And then also, too, leave us a review because reviews are how more people even find us. We already have thousands of reviews and we would love thousands more. And I said mores. We love y'all. Okay, we'll be back next week.
Bye.
Dip, baby. Dip, come on now. Dip, baby.